My name is Sarah Bentley Pearson, and I am excited to share my podcast, which features wonderful talent that I've been so lucky to discover in the Southeast. This was born out of a list that I created in 2015 called Sarah's List. And through my work in real estate, which I've been doing since 2005, and styling work, and just my personal life and my personal interests, I've been able to meet so many wonderful people, and I'm excited to share them with you.
This city is like constantly trying to reinvent itself, and it's trying to establish somehow a sense of community and something that everyone can connect to. But anything that feels like someone can actually tag on to gets dismantled, and then something new gets built. And so there's not really a way to hold on to things of the past that help you to kind of like create a sense of place. And I think that's what we're trying to do, is to, at least with, let's say, the projects that we have, to somehow really honor that and give people something to hold on to and cherish. And even if they maybe don't really have a deep connection to the architecture of the home, but make it feel like it is their own and it's part of their family history. That makes sense. And I think
Yeah.
we are like trying to do that subconsciously. It's not that we go to the house and say, okay, we want to make this your own. It's more like that's something that is so much ingrained into our design DNA that we just want to do that.
Well, I mean, I'm in the business of selling real estate, and I actually find that I'm fortunate enough to have good friends that live in two Schutze houses, so the
Mhm.
Pink Castle and the Pink Palace. And I got married for the second time at the Pink Castle at Melanie Turner's house.
Yeah,
And but there aren't a lot of houses that are old.
yeah.
Yes.
And if they are, they're not particularly from a great era, but I think, I live in a house that was added onto and added onto and added onto. And I think if you can take architectural elements and that are interesting, or they might be reproductions, however, just kind of creating some interesting flow, because it's such a big city. We're a growing city, and there's a lot of money moving here. You see big white boxes going up all the time that are 5 million, 6 million, 7 million. There's even one now for 8 million. The numbers are getting bigger.
Mhm.
Um, I personally don't like that type of a house. I like a perfect present. And actually, behind your shop, the reason I found your current location is I sold one of those houses behind
At the
you
Enclave.
at the Enclave, and they are beautiful.
Yeah, they're so
Yes.
beautiful.
They are so beautiful. I mean, the really soaring ceilings, but there's not a lot of new architecture that's that fine.
Did you get to see the garden?
Yes.
Their gardens.
I mean, you feel like you're in
I
Paris.
know the gardens are amazing.
And so, what I liked about your shop is that it looked very curated. The chests I bought from you
Those are
look old. They're not, but they have that look. I also loved your photograph from Jackson Fine Art. Anna's been on our
Yeah.
podcast, and so I just like things to look collected. And
Mhm.
it's hard because I think Atlanta is great, though, that there are so many resources.
for sure.
A lot of cities, I mean, even New York, I don't feel like has quite the resources so concentrated.
No, we
Yeah,
have
for
a
sure.
friend who's in the design business who comes to Atlanta to shop like ADAC because she says, we just don't have the resources there that Atlanta does.
Yes.
And I think it's getting there with some of the design center and stuff like that that's really growing. But I think in general, like the design community here is so tight and so supportive of each other, I feel like, which is one of the things I really love about being here. And I think that there's so much that people want to come to us almost, is what I'm finding. Um, and instead of us like having to seek out the resources.
No, this is a strength in this city.
Yes,
And
for sure.
my one of my best friends lives in Switzerland, and like she has nothing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, she has to do a container and send it over here. I don't really remember Germany, like, for interiors. Obviously, everybody loves to go to France,
Sure.
but, I just think, we have Scott's Antique Market, we've got ADAC, we have all these beautiful stores. And I agree, the galleries of Peachtree Hills, like there are so many people, and there are a lot of Europeans here that I've had on my podcast, from Terry Francois, Pietro, who owns Storico Kitchens.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the podcast I was listening to.
yes, yes. Talia is so, I feel like, and like you, I came here because my ex-husband is a dentist and he bought a practice because that's what dentists do. And I cried when I moved here because
Mhm.
I just, didn't think this city was going to do it for me. But the city has been really good to me.
Absolutely.
And there are certain aspects of it that I love. And then if you pepper in your trips to different places, it's a nice place to live. And I think
For
people
sure.
live really well. What I'd love to hear from you all is, what are some things that you like to do to people's homes to make it feel like a home, other than obviously the furniture and things, but what are things that are kind of like your go-to? Um, because I've done some houses myself too, and I have like a go-to that I start with, like a palette, and then
Sure.
I build from there.
Mhm.
So what is your aesthetic, and what is your go-to?
I feel like every project starts with a conversation with the client, and of course, like figuring out what are their goals and what do they want to accomplish, especially working with an interior designer. For some people, it's the first experience with an interior designer. For others, they're more experienced. I think is joining them on this like journey of making it to something that feels their home, as I was saying earlier. And I think that's starting with like a site visit and just looking at maybe old plans. Sometimes in these historic homes, we find pictures that are like from the past, from previous owners. You find old floor plans of what the original intent of the home was. And then you have conversations with the client trying to figure out how do they want to use the space and then adapt it to their needs. I think that's a big part, and probably like the beginning stages of how we approach a project. And I think another big part is just asking them where do they like to travel to, what inspires them. And another huge part that we actually started to really dig into probably like 2 or 3 years ago is just starting with art, because art is like a really, let's say, neutral conversation starter. To It's also very subjective, of course,
So
but
typically people either like a specific kind of art or they don't, right?
yeah.
So it's a
So
good place when there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't know what my style is. It's like, well, let's talk about art then, because usually that's a conversation that people can have
So
in
are
their.
you educating them and taking them to
Yeah, I
galleries
am.
and introduce, because I think art is very important.
Yes,
and the
likewise.
challenge is also with some of our, like, let's say, other projects that we had before, is that art usually comes afterwards, and that's usually also a big budget binder of like a big project. And so if you start with art, it could be a good starting point or like reference to pull colors from, or to somehow complement the architecture. And it's also a really good investment for the client as like starting their own
And
collection.
then you
It's
can throw in some West Elm if you have some
Yeah,
good
for
art.
yes,
sure.
for
But you
sure.
could have a very expensive piece of furniture and crap art and it doesn't
It
work.
doesn't
Like,
work.
I think interiors are a lot like dressing.
Yeah,
Yes.
If you have good accessories, you can wear jeans and a t-shirt,
that's
but
right.
Yes.
like it it is the jewelry of the home. And what about hardware?
Yeah.
Like,
That's the
are you
same.
are you
Yes.
big into changing out the hardware in a
Oh
house?
yeah, we
Yes.
pretty much do that on almost every project. A good friend of mine who I worked at West Elm with just started a hardware company in Brooklyn, and so now we have some new resources that we've been looking at and that we're
Are you
using
going
in
to sell
ours.
them in your showroom?
We are not there yet. I mean, we can get into that whole thing because I'm not sure if you know, but the space we're in now is a temporary
Oh, it
location
is. So where are you
um,
going?
next door to where Jane Marston's shop was.
Oh, okay.
So
But in the same
yeah,
complex.
yeah.
Okay.
So we can get into all of that, but yeah, I want to go back to one of your questions about where we start too, because I think Peter did a great job answering that. But it used to make me a little nuts because people would be like, "Define your aesthetic," and they would be like, "Are you traditional? Are you contemporary? Are you modern? Are you transitional?" I was like, "Yeah."
It can be
where
all of
all
it.
of those
Yeah.
things. And and so I think that like somewhere along the way, like people just sort of got accustomed to being lumped into these categories of like, oh, I'm just traditional, or oh, and it's like, no, you can be all of those things, because it could take one piece of contemporary art with a really beautiful Parisian console, like, and the juxtaposition there happens. So like that's where the magic is for me.
Yeah.
And the things we talk about all the time. I mean, Peter sent me a console on Instagram this morning that was like so contemporary modern. I sent him one last night that was so French, or actually it was Italian, and like I could see both of those living in the same room or in the same space. So I think like we're sort of all of those things. But then to fast forward to your other thing about 2300 Peachtree is that, so, we're very fortunate because, Asana bought that property some years ago, and Jane Marsden created that entire thing with her son-in-law. And, she had her antique shop there on 2 floors, and she lived on the third floor. So we were blown away the first time we ever
Oh, in
saw
the
it.
enclave?
No, it's actually above our store.
Oh,
There's a
okay. I didn't know
penthouse.
people could live there.
Yeah, so there's a penthouse on the third.